All right, we're recording.
Welcome.
Welcome. So, since Fafnir is the one who suggested today's topic, I will also allow him to introduce it. So go ahead, sir.
All right. So, for those who are, I think most of the people watching this on stream are from the Brave Network, but on the off chance that somebody isn't for some weird reason, we moderate the help chat. And one of the things that help chat does is, of course, answer questions. And we get some questions really, really frequently. And
Mm-hmm.
although this isn't necessarily a bad thing, like if someone's asking how to beat, let's say, episode 8 of Fates of the Fallen, that's not necessarily a bad question.
Yeah.
But sometimes you end up getting questions that are either way too general, uh, are or are just so broad that we have no way of answering them. And this video will be twofold in that sense.
Oh
We
yeah.
will not only be discussing what these questions are, but and why they are flawed, but also just some general tips for both the people who would ask these questions as well as the people who would answer them. Because I know that some people will even in our community get really impatient when having to see these questions repeated because they
Not
are.
even in our community. It happens everywhere. I see it in my guild, and I see it happen on the wiki. I mean, it's just all over the place.
Yeah,
It's just a
it,
generally frustrating question.
they all are.
Yeah. It really it like CC said in the Twitch chat, it just starts to kind of get to you after a while and really just frustrate you so much that you just, I don't know, don't want to answer any questions because half the questions that you see are incredibly frustrating and
I
just
feel like
kind of redundant.
we should start with the one that is probably the most pertinent as well as the easiest to explain, which
Hmm.
is this unit good?
Yeah. Is this unit good? If you
Now,
come, I'll start us off by saying that if you come into help chat or anywhere where you are getting help, please, for the love of God, don't ask if a unit is good. We can tell
well,
you specifics on things, but that is such a broad question.
if you okay, so there are two immediate problems with this. The first is that um, the question should be, is this unit good for me, which is something that we can't identify unless we know what your box is, which means you're probably going to have to post your box, which means we would have to see the rest of your units. Then we could determine whether or not the unit is good for you, and then we could tell you what the roles for those units are, or you could just say, what roles would this unit serve for me, and
Mm-hmm.
you would probably get a very, very enthusiastic response from at least three people.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
If you come into help chat and say and ask a question that is riddled with specifics, I will actually thank you for asking your question, because if you ask me, "Hey, is this unit good?" I am not only going to probably refuse to answer that question, but I am going to become increasingly frustrated if you continue to ask it. What?
which brings us to our second point.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, is this unit good? In a vacuum is fine. Like if it's just a one off, it's fine. But
Yeah.
normally, when people ask this question, especially nowadays, it's
Mm-hmm.
because they're summoning more than once in a row, which leads to people posting an image of a unit they just got, asking if that unit's good, and then probably before they even get a response, immediately summoning again and getting a different unit and then asking if that unit is also good. And this chains really quickly,
Yeah.
especially if more than one person is summoning at once, which tends to happen at the start of some gates. It gets aggravating really quickly, and some people will even post the banner unit when they pull the banner unit and ask if this unit is good during that tirade. We're
Yeah.
just like, what are you doing?
I'm just gonna take a moment to clear this up. If there's a unit pictured on a gate and you summon it, it's probably good. Unless you summon it off of like the legendary summon, it's a good unit.
I mean, Fang was on some like
Okay,
pictures of
we
kids.
don't even talk about Fang here. Like that's not legal. That's a Gumi thing. Like sometimes Gumi will put shitty units on a gate. But if you're summoning on a gate that, has one unit on it, if like for example like a raid summon gate or a grand quest gate, stuff like that, they're usually pretty solid units. However, you do have to be careful for some of those resummon gates as they are a trap.
You can if you pull the banner unit,
Hmm.
ask if that unit is better than something else in your squad
Ask in
for
general,
a
how does this
purpose.
fit into my squad? What do I use
But
this unit for?
ideally, you would do that before you summon the unit,
Hmm.
so that you don't like waste gems and summon tickets trying to get them, and then realize that the unit is essentially useless to you. Which I've been guilty of a couple times. I've basically spent gems and summon tickets on a unit meow, and then realized that he
Meow.
actually provided nothing for my squad meow.
Hmm. Yeah, same here. Also with Meow. So that and there are other times when I have skipped units that would have added glorious things to my squad, such as Galeen. Um,
You're like, I think we both skipped sheriff on release
mhm.
and just now got
We
sheriff.
both just got sheriff. Like in the past 24 hours, Faf and I both got sheriff. It's pretty fucking great. Um,
It's weird.
I think that I just want to take a moment to address the main point of what we're going for, and we'll really break this down more. But why is it a bad idea to ask, is this unit good? And I'm going to start off by saying that, how should I phrase this? That if you come in and ask, is this unit good? My response will always be, for what? What are you using them for? What does your team look like? What does your box look like? I have too many questions. If you come in and ask, is this unit good for X content? I can help you better, but I can't quite help you because I'll still have to ask, what is your team? If you
I
come
have
in and say, my leader is Durham, I have this team, is Vrana good? The first thing I'll say is, she's the banner unit on the gate, of course she's fucking good. The second thing I'll say is, yes, her leader skill is better than Durham in these instances, blah, blah, blah. Here's why it's good. Because you gave me specifics, I was better equipped to answer your question in a way that is suitable to both of our sanities.
My reaction is probably a bit different from Recoom's. I don't know if Recoome has ever seen the original "If Google Was a Guy"
Yeah.
video by College Humor,
Mm-hmm.
but there is a point where someone asks a question to Google and he just puts his head in his hands and screams, "In what context?"
Mm-hmm.
Which is exactly how I feel whenever I get a question like that, because like that's the biggest thing, is that none of these questions in a vacuum can really be answered. Like in a vacuum, if you're asking if Vargas is a good unit, yeah, he beats over half the game. He's a good unit. But that isn't really like meaningful in the grand scheme of things, because most people don't want a unit that can beat over half the game. They want something that can beat over all of the game, which is not something that is achievable for one, but just like
Yeah.
what are we defining as good?
Yeah. You have to the moral of this whole video is going to be the same thing. You have to be specific with any question. Don't don't come into the chat and ask really any question that is so incredibly vague that we can't give you a proper answer. And if you're a new player, I understand that that might be, your first reaction, but I can't think of a game where something, a unit that you're pulling, something that you're getting, a gotcha game specifically, that units don't have a niche. And so I don't know where people get the notion that there is a best unit, but in most gotcha games, in most JRPGs or anything similar, you're not going to run into, oh, this is the best unit. You're going to run into, this is an excellent, adequate, poor, whatever unit for this specific type or piece of content.
Right.
So
Unless
let
like
me give an example, right? Tavarius. No, even better, Fenia. If you come into
oh
the chat and ask me, Is Fenia good? My first response, as I said, will be, in what context? Because Fenia has different uses. If you put Fenia into I use Fenia in my Colosseum team. It's meta, right? Fenia is amazing for Colosseum because her extra skill negates status ailments. You do not want to put Fenia in your Mono Thunder if Deku is there. If you're running Deku strats, you want to, as we've stated in previous videos, constantly cleanse him of the status ailments that he's hitting himself with, specifically Paralyze. If Fenia is there, she won't allow that strategy to be possible, which is one of the reasons that the unit's good, but not in this specific piece of content. And therefore, I can't tell you if this unit is good because I don't know where you're using it. Because I could tell you it's good in Colo, but I could tell you it's bad on a Deku team. Right?
Yeah.
It's two completely conflicting points of view, but you ask such a vague question that I then have to take my time that I could be answering your question to narrow down your own question. Instead, if you just come in, ask the specific question, which maybe takes 10 extra seconds to type out, I can give you an answer that takes me and you considerably less time, and everybody's happy.
I mean, worst case scenario, you have to post an Imgur album, and then people have to sift through it. But people are more than willing to do that.
Yeah, I do it every day.
Generally,
we're here to help, but we're not here to babysit you and to teach you how, to Google and things like that. And when it comes to more specific questions, we're happy to answer them. But again, is this unit good is not specific.
Yeah.
Another thing for our listeners who are relatively new to the game, you will benefit infinitely from learning how to read and understand a unit's kit. You will never have to ask again if this unit is good, because you'll know if that unit is good by pulling them. Because if you see something like, 12% overdrive gauge fill on BB and SBB, yeah, that unit's probably pretty good in most instances where you need to insta-fill your overdrive gauge. But if it says, automatically kills itself, okay, maybe not so good, right? That doesn't actually exist. But, things like that.
It sort of does.
Deku will kill himself.
If you don't take the SP and you manage to somehow recast Deku SBB or UBB without heals, then he will kill himself.
Yeah, he'll just straight up kill himself.
Which is actually, I didn't realize that would happen. I thought it would just lower him to 1 because of his AIs. Nope, it just pierces the AI.
Yeah, no, fuck you. You're dead. Your Deku is dead. So yeah, I mean, again, the answer to all of your questions is or specifically these two, is it depends. Give me more information.
What context? And then we've got the question that is actually the title of this video, which is what is the best unit in the game? What is the best sphere in the game? What is the best X in the game? And in most games, like traditional JRPGs, this is a rather simple question to answer. Like, if you were to ask, what is the best skill in the game, and I forget which Final Fantasy game, I think it was like Knights of the Round, was the ultimate summon, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You would just wreck everything if you had Knights of the Round, or whatever it was called. But things aren't so simple in Brave Frontier because everything is incredibly segmented. And because it's so segmented, trying to compare units across kits and across elements is so rife with variables that we cannot possibly answer it. So I'm going to give you an example. If you ask me what is the best unit in the game, I'm not going to give you an answer. If you ask me what is the best water unit in the game, you might get a couple answers, but you won't get any specific answer. If you ask me what is the best water mitigator in the game, you will narrow it down even more to a few answers, but you still will not get one definitively. But if you ask me what is the best offensive water mitigator in the game, I will tell you Veil.
Yeah.
You will get one answer out of that.
The more specific you get, the more it narrows down our answers. And, that goes any way. If you ask me what is the best water mitigator in the game, I might say Serenthus, and Faf might say Veil and Vidron because we don't know what you're looking for. But if you narrow it down, and say, what is the best water mitigator for hard content? I will most likely reply, Serenthus, because he is an excellent mitigator that heals, right? It's
I would
just,
still provide Veil.
or sorry, not heals, revives. I wouldn't use Veil over Serenthus in extremely difficult content, but then again, water is in kind of a ridiculous state right now where it doesn't need it.
Where's water gonna die?
But yeah, in future content, if you're like, oh, I'm having a really tough time with this, my team keeps dying, I have no way to revive, I'm using Veil and Vidron, I'll tell you, switch to Serenthus, because I believe that Serenthus is the best water mitigator in the game for difficult content.
Furthermore, if you happen to come across a dispute like this, it will give you an insight into what the potential content you could use this knowledge for is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually beneficial to run into a time where you get an opinion that is not like widely repeated. But that doesn't mean that you should be less specific just to start a war between people over what that specific qualification means. You should try and be as specific as possible.
Yeah. The more specific you are, the better we can answer your question. If you are interested in learning, you could ask a different question. If you're interested in what some of the best water units in the game are, phrase it like that. What are some of the best water units in the game? Then I don't have to narrow it down to one. Then I could give you a mitigator and a nuker and a support. I can give you multiple things. But again, if you're asking us to narrow down one specific thing from an extremely vague set of circumstances, i.e. the entire water mono, I just can't give you an answer.
Yeah. I mean, this isn't like even in Elena Day, where she was the so-called best unit in the game. She wasn't really the best unit in the game. She was an extremely powerful unit, yes. She could clear most content, yes. But
Absolutely.
You did have a team that at least somewhat supported her. Like, if you could beat content with just Elena by herself, then the content probably wasn't, like, built around Gumi mechanics. It was probably like a GGC or something.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was a strategy zone.
Yeah, basically.
Those aren't good gauges of difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
You can't like bring just Elena into I don't know, Essence of Time and then expect to win. You can do it with Nia, but not with Elena.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to reiterate something because I don't think it's been mentioned yet, but this applies to spheres and L-gifts too.
Yes,
almost even
absolutely.
More so to spheres and L-gifts, because if you ask me what the best unit in the game is, maybe I'll give you my personal opinion, what I like best, what I think is the best. You'll get an answer. If you ask me what the best sphere in the game is, I am going to lose it. Because there are so many good spheres in the game. I don't know. Do you want a nuke? What unit are you using? Are you looking for BB reduction? Ragnarok Addict. Are you looking for damage specifically on a unit that gives itself spark passives? You want elemental weakness damage. It can go so many ways that if you ask me what the best sphere is in the game, I might even ignore you. Like, I might just think that you're a troll and move on. Because that kind of question is absurdly broad.
The only way you're going to get an answer to that is, again, if you use qualifiers, and those qualifiers happen, like the one qualifier you use happens to only correspond to one thing.
Yeah.
Like if you ask us what is the best sphere that has 50% BC cost reduction, the only answer you're going to get is Ragnarok.
Yeah.
That is the only sphere that even does that.
If you rephrase it to something like, what sphere gives the most BC reduction? Better question. I can answer. Ragnarok Addict. Oh, Ragnarok Addict is too hard to get. Okay, next up, Ortis. Maybe you can focus on something like that. You can go from there. But if you're really just asking these broad questions of herder, what's good, I'm not going to give you an answer.
Right. As for L-gifts, I mean...
God, that depends.
Are always... God...
When it comes to content, a lot of the time you can sort of just slap a sphere, like a set of spheres on something and, for the most part, be good. If I want to go into RC7, I can slap a Heaven's Edge and a Victory Chant on something, and for the most part, I'll be fine. I've got my set spheres that I like, and that's fine. But when it comes to L-gifts, oh my god, does it depend on the situation. Oh my god, does it depend on the unit. Deku doesn't want a Fulgur Eternal level 3.
Let me just... because I know Recoome has paid lip service to this before, but I never really explained what it was in depth.
Mhm.
So I was once doing water RC7, and I decided to just slap some random spheres on my units, and I did fine. And I realized after the battle uh, what exactly I had on my Florence during this run. So, long story short, as Recoome has stated numerous times, this Florence had 5 different sources of status nullification:
Oh yeah,
2 from spheres, 1 from SP, one from
Elgif.
yeah, 1 from Elgif. I'm trying to remember where the 5th one was from.
I thought it was
Oh,
from
I
a
think
unit buff.
oh yeah, unit buff. Yep. So she had a full 5 levels of status null,
Yo,
even
dog, I
though
heard you like status
you're
null.
yeah, like you can get away with that
Oh yeah.
when you like have a solid squad to support it. But I look back on it now and I'm like, why did I know why I sphered my Florence this way. I know why I did what I did. But
Mhm.
that still doesn't mean it was the right thing to do, and it
Oh yeah.
certainly wasn't the most optimal thing to
Mhm.
do.
And the more you can think for yourself, and the more you can decipher things on your own, the better you can, do these things on your own and not have to ask help chat. Because we don't want to help you add spheres to your units. That's a very boring thing. But we would, love to help you navigate through the content after you've sphered your units. But if you're at a point where you don't even know how to sphere your own units, or you don't even know what your units do, you shouldn't be asking if a unit is good. Or maybe you should be asking once and then moving on. You should be reading those kits and get a feeling for what these things mean.
Hey, Recoome, what's a good sphere for Saren?
For Saren,
What's a good sphere for Saren?
what do you want to do with the Saren?
I just want a Saren.
Well, I'll tell you what. Here's your sphere. You want a crystallized tier and bravest blade. That's the best spheres that you could possibly put on your Saren.
That's hacks. You can't get those to stack. The correct answer would be crystallized tier and most
Most
bravest.
bravest blade. My bad. Yep. This is why Fafnir always knows better. Look, seriously. It's most bravest blade and crystallized tier are the best spheres that you can put on your Saren, and you can quote me on that.
I swear I had both of those spheres in my gold tier like a few months ago.
He did.
Roll.
It
It
was
was
it was
it was
pretty
great.
consistent that I'd be going through. I think it happened in Super Karma Dungeon a couple of times, because I mean Super Karma Dungeon would be up and you filter by dark and you filter by earth to make sure that you get the exp leads. But every once in a while, some dipshit would have like up like an Elena. And then there was Faf, who just decided he was going to put up his Gaul tier with crystallized tier and most bravest blade on it, because fuck you. That's why. Oh god.
Uh,
Yeah, just I
fun
mean
time.
the entire theme of this video, and we're pretty much reaching a close at this point. It's gonna be a short one because we kind of cover what we
Oh
needed to
no!
cover. But oh, is there
Oh
more?
no! 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 The final question that I was saving for last is why this video is going to take so long.
Oh, okay. What is it?
It is, what is a good squad for general content?
Yeah, yeah, it's a pretty
All
fucking stupid
right,
question. All right, let's do this.
let's start with the obvious. Um, so the definition of general content is, I mean, I can tell you my definition of general content. It basically encompasses pretty much everything before strategy. It encompasses almost every frontier gate that isn't too inland, and it encompasses even into the strategy zones. It
Mhm.
encompasses all of them, and
Yeah.
to an extent, it covers arena as well. And
Mhm.
even then, being really broad, and that's kind of stretching it.
Yeah.
The definition that I just told you is wrong. 99% of the time, the definition that I just told you is not going. Definition of general content varies so greatly between
Hold
every
on a
single
sec, Faf.
player.
You're cutting out. Give me 1 sec to fix it.
Okay.
It does this every once in a while because my computer gets confused. Try this again.
Something.
There you go.
All right. I don't know where I left off, so I'll just start at the end point.
Absolutely.
The definition of general content varies so much for so many different people that we cannot possibly give you an answer as to what a good squad would be for general content. And even then, sometimes this question is asked without even like us being able to see the units that we're having to work with.
Hmm.
So this leads to us either asking the clarifying question, the person getting mildly upset, or someone giving the person a squad that they cannot possibly build.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Go ahead.
furthermore, like this is also kind of a squad building question, and squad building questions tend to take a while.
Hmm.
So I'm going to cover a few cases in which this question may arise. The first is the one that requires the least introduction, which is the one where someone wants a catch-all squad that will beat everything in the game, period. Where general content applies to literally everything that isn't element locked, and they just want like a fast and quick answer, like what is the most OP spread of units that I could put in a team and crush pretty much everything I encounter. And I'm sorry to say that that squad either doesn't exist or is most likely way beyond the means of whoever is asking this question to make.
Hmm.
Did you catch any of that? Or
Unfortunately, I was handling something in the FGL chat help because people were being strange, to say the least. But you may continue. I will pick up from here. I just had to address that.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
So the first thing that's the first thing to unpack is if someone is asking that particular question, you just need to tell them that such a squad does not exist. We can't make it. I can't even conceive of it personally, though I can see of a squad that could easily crush most content that does not extend to all content. And this isn't just because of element locks. This is because creating a squad that has nearly no buff flash that can also survive any given situation is almost impossible. In fact, it might actually be impossible with the advent of Doom, unless you're literally creating a squad of 6 Ceros,
Yep.
which I don't think a majority of people can make.
Fuck knows I can't.
Yeah, yeah, I didn't pull for 5 Ceros
I
and
don't
then
know why
got a
you would.
Cero. I didn't realize that was a requirement, but
Yeah, now it is. I guess we've made it a requirement.
and then what are you going to do? How are you going to solve getting time skipped? What are you going to do then? Are you going to equip them with the world and apex steer wheel? Okay, so that's 2 Ceros that are rendered immune to 1 turn of time skip. Maybe a third if your friend is also running it. What are you going to do when there's a 3 turn time skip? What if it's just you can no longer do anything time skip and you're just stuck there and waiting for your Ceros to die? This is why building different squad compositions is important because there is no catch all squad that I could make to deal with everything. Like, even if I were to replace one of those Ceros with, I don't know, with Tavarius, just for
Mhm.
lore reasons, I still don't think that that would solve the intrinsic problem
Yeah.
created by this. He would still be just as nonsensical and just as difficult to answer because there is no squad that can beat everything. There just isn't. There's
Yeah.
no squad that I can create that would excel in Rifts, Colo, and Guild Raid, or because that's apparently coming back, or
Fucking
Vortex
better
Arena,
be.
or any of those. I cannot create something that excels in all of those across the board. That's not a thing I can do. The
Yeah.
closest I can get to it is I could give you a Terry lead and a bunch of veils, and then you can try
Hmm.
your luck.
Yeah, go
But
for it.
even then, like then you get doomed, and then what are you gonna do?
Yeah, and then you get DOT'd. Then what are you gonna fucking do?
And then you're dead.
Yeah, congratulations, you fucked up because you asked a stupid question. And
The
then it
second
all circles back again to the same thing that we've been saying throughout the entire episode, which is just be specific. You can't come in and ask, what's the best squad in the game? What's the best squad for general content? I'm not going to give you an answer. What's the best squad for Drowning Darkness? I'll give you the best squad, but you're not gonna have it, most likely. Most people don't have 2 or 3 Dekus. So you're again not gonna have that. But if you come in and say, what is a good squad for me to use for this based on Imgur album, my units, I
Would
will
all
gladly help you.
would also be helpful for us to know if you have already attempted it, what you've tried, because that allows us to kind of tick off something in our mind. It lets us know that you've been trying to do things on your own and
Mm-hmm.
you've put in the effort, and that you're struggling, and that you would want a strong answer to this instead of someone just asking us what they're prepared for right off the bat, which can be useful. I know that in some fights, knowing the thresholds and what they're going to do is incredibly helpful. But if it's
Yeah.
an error in squad composition and you're coming to us because of an error in squad composition, after that usually means that you've attempted it once or twice.
Mm-hmm.
So letting us know what you've attempted will
Mm-hmm.
help figure out how to help you.
Even if you haven't attempted it and you're a little bit nervous about going into it because you've never done it before or all you've done is read a guide, at least give me your current squad. Say, what am I missing from this squad? Post what you have right now, and we will say, okay, here's what you could slot here. Oh, you don't have that? Here's the budget version of that. Okay, you're missing this specific buff. Try to slot this. We can help you build a squad, but we'd much rather help you simply refine your squad or perfect your strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Different squads for different things means that the better you are at squad building and the more that you understand game mechanics, the more that we can help you.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right. So, as I said, the final part of this would be a little bit of an education for both the people who would answer this as well as the people who would ask it.
Mm-hmm.
So, the first step when someone asks this question is to not immediately get frustrated with them, but to ask what they mean by general content.
Yeah.
How the scenario in which this comes into a full stop is if they respond with just general content.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you ask them a squad for general content and you say, what do you mean by general content? And they're like, I mean general content, or some variation of that. That's where it comes to a full stop. You can't help this person. This person is trying to build a squad that beats everything, and because they will not divulge what their definition of general content is, you can't even begin to fathom
Yeah. I'm not
what they
helping
might
you.
be trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't even begin to try.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's not even worth it.
yeah. If they then qualify it by like a certain subset of game modes, let's say that they combo together Quest, Arena, Vortex Arena, Raids, Coliseum, Rifts.
Mm-hmm.
If they combo like an incredibly long list together, that's another big red sign that something is wrong. Say that
Yeah.
you can build a team that would excel, like one team that would excel at these groups and another team that would excel at these groups. Like let's say you built them a Rift and Raid team for as little overlap as that would provide. I don't really know. I don't know what raid you would be doing that would probably make you go rainbow or something similar to that.
Yeah.
But that's besides the point. But let's say that you could build them a strong mono fire that would help them out in Arena, Vortex Arena, and I guess they could toss it in the Kalo, although
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how far that would get because mono fire and Kalo doesn't really have any way to 0 BC outside of Ragnarok ending.
Yeah.
They most likely don't have if they're asking for squad building advice.
Mm-hmm. Also, just a little side note: don't run a mono squad in Colo.
You can, it's mono light, but if it's
Yeah.
not mono light,
Even mono light, you want Fenia in there. So.
yeah, I guess
Mm-hmm.
it depends. You can get away with like 2 Cheeseroos.
But at the same time, you don't have like you want Fenia in there for her extra skill, which nulls all elements, alongside adding all elements to attack on SP. But I digress. That's another video.
Cheeseroo's extra skill does do that thing
Okay.
though.
Does it add all elements on SP?
No, but vanilla does.
Okay, there you go then.
Like, I think vanilla does anyway. I think I remember vanilla doing that. But the,
Someone
the,
was
the
helping
point
me with
is that
Colo in
although you
chat.
could
Sorry.
build a squad that could be kind of a, you could build a squad that would be a catch-all for a specific game mode,
Yeah,
but not for the entire game. That's
yeah.
not that's not a,
You're not going to be able to build a catch-all squad that, first of all, keeps up with the evolving meta, because if you actually try that, you'll get your shit kicked in, because that's just not going to happen. And second
I've
of
seen.
all, you can't, you don't want to go run a rift with an XP leader.
Do
I
you
wouldn't
know
suggest
what?
doing that.
Do you want to know what my favorite moment was in my Coliseum grind?
What?
So I I took an interesting approach to it where I refused to do everything all in one go. I would get like 300, 400k points a season.
Hmm.
And one of the things that I would do at the start of every season is I would just burn like 10 tickets singular, like not all in one shot,
Hmm.
to slowly rack up perfect wins.
Yeah.
And these perfect wins were incredibly easy to achieve. Now, you might be wondering why that is.
Hmm.
It's because there are people who have asked what the best squad is for general content, who then get an answer and then bring that squad into Coliseum. And what this results in is that for at least the first three fights,
Hmm.
the only thing I encounter are various variations on Roglizer led squads, and I find it hilarious.
Yeah.
It is the funniest thing. Like, it, you don't run Roglizer
Please
lead
don't.
in Coliseum. Please.
Please, if I see you with a Roglizer lead in Coliseum or in Arena I'm gonna slap you. In Coliseum, I'm gonna laugh while I slap you. Like, just don't. It's a bad idea.
No. Like the higher stats don't make it good. You need to. That doesn't mean it's optimized well for the content, especially not in Coliseum.
Yeah, it's we digress, but it's a good demonstration of you can't create a catch-all, especially because not only are the kits of those units not going to be applicable to that specific piece of content, but neither will their leader skills. You need
Yeah.
specific leader skills for Coliseum, or else, if you don't have an ABP CBP boost leader skill, it's gonna suck. But if you have one of those and you're using a fucking Galtier for it, like, no, get out. Like,
Galtier has an ABP CBP lead.
that's what I said.
Galtier
But
is
if you're
from,
using Galtier
yeah,
because he doesn't work for Colo anymore, you're not going to use him.
yeah, he works.
If you're using a troll reduces damage to one team, he's just a very, very mediocre lead now.
Yeah, he would be the lead that you would run for that team in Conqueror
But why? Why would you do that?
because Coliseum.
Because fuck
Because
you, that's
Coliseum.
why.
Exactly. He's a fuck mothering vampire. He had to kill a lot of people to get that title.
It's true. um, what else do we want to address? Because I feel like we've pretty much touched on everything and we're just rambling at this point.
Yeah, just one final send off. If
Mhm.
someone asks these questions, you got to determine first their reasoning behind asking one of these questions, because if it's purely from a sense of like, I just want a quick answer to get out and then beat everything, or
Mhm.
I want to know if this unit is good, but I don't want to know why this unit is good.
Yeah.
And is this unit good? Or is this the best unit in the game? Yes, no. If they're just looking for a yes, no answer or like a catch all answer, then you can't help them.
Hmm.
You can't help that person in any conceivable fashion
Yeah.
other than to just like give them yes or no, or to give them a squad that A does not fit the requirements for what they're asking most likely, and B probably something they can't even make because they haven't provided the details for us to actually answer their question.
If.
And some people are amiable and they'll like
Mhm.
if we prompt them with certain things, they'll give us more details, and
Yeah.
then we can answer the question fully. And sometimes that ends well, but the overwhelming majority of the time, what happens is that the person gets ornery because we didn't answer their question. Sometimes they'll completely ignore anything that doesn't look like a direct answer to their question and just spam the question over and over and over again until they get an answer.
Hmm.
Hint, hint, the majority of wiki threads that I see
Yeah.
that start with "Is this unit good?" where I have seen someone post 6 threads simultaneously, individually,
Don't.
all
Just
asking
stop.
whether a different unit was good, all posted within 30 seconds of each other. This is unnecessary. Just do it in one thread.
Or
Do
just read
it.
the fucking kit yourself and have some interest in learning.
They're on the wiki.
Yeah.
You can read. You
The
can read
the
whether or not they're good. You can search their name and
the point of help chat specifically, and the wiki as well to an extent, is we're not here to hold your hand and babysit you through the game and teach you how to do every single little thing so that you never learn. We are here to teach you. Okay, I am more than happy to teach you what's good. But if you ask me, is this unit good, and then ask me if another unit's good, and then ask me the same question again 7 other times, I'm gonna get annoyed, and I'm not gonna have any interest in helping you. I'll teach you, but I won't babysit you.
every single time someone asks me that question, I want to become like Zora, or as I call it, like Shia LaBeouf. I
Hmm.
want to put a bag over my head, and I want to take a big axe, and I just want to lumber toward people. And
Yeah.
then it's time for your punishment. Here's my axe. Okay.
Yeah, like, it's just. It's incredibly frustrating to get those questions, and we have people who are like that. So please, for the love of God, if you're gonna play this game, it's relatively in depth. So please have some interest in learning.
Read Shay's Beginner's Guide. It'll
Yeah.
help you with all those acronyms that seem really strange.
Hmm.
I highly recommend doing this because some of the acronyms now are strange even to me. If someone types BBB in the chat, I keep thinking, like, did you mean DBB or did you
Hmm.
legitimately just use their bonded brave burst? And
Yeah.
I can't tell because the unit is capable of both, and the letters are so. I'm looking it up right. They're it's pretty easy to get that messed up.
Yeah, I mean, I fuck it up sometimes. I mean, I'm pretty sure in the last episode I referred to something as a DBB instead of a BBB, or the other way around. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Or like sometimes someone will say DBB and they'll type SBB instead, and I'll be like, okay, use their SBB, so what? Because the S is right next to the D on the keyboard.
Yeah.
Like this has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Not at all. But regardless, the point that we're trying to drive home here is ask specific questions and learn from your specific questions. I don't want to see you coming back with the same question every single fucking time you summon a new unit. Just be open to learning, and don't fucking argue with me. If you ask me a question because you clearly don't know the answer, don't argue with me when I give you the answer. That's just inane, you know?
No, that's not.
Oh my
I was
god. It drives me insane because someone would be like, hey, what's a good mono squad for Thunder? And they'll give me their units, and I'll give them, okay, if you're doing Drowning Darkness, okay, run Tavarius lead and a Tavarius friend, you can 0BC, blah, 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 run Tavarius BBs, and then they'll go, isn't that kind of dumb, because don't I want to run Zora instead? And I'm like, why the fuck are you arguing with me, and why the fuck are you arguing with me about whether or not you want to run Zora? Like, get out of
What
my,
is your
get out of my
obsession with
chat.
Laura?
It's absurd. Yeah, there's I'm pretty sure there's one person on the wiki. I don't remember his name, and I wouldn't say it anyway, but just loves Zora. Zora is a bad unit, by the way. He's not good. So don't ask me if he's good, because I'm going to tell you no.
Is this unit good? It's Zora. No.
No, that unit
Let me
sucks.
just definitively put a pin in that. If
Yeah.
you come into chat and ask me if Zora is good, that is the one variation of "is this unit good" that you will probably get an immediate visceral
Oh, yeah.
answer from me.
I think the last and only time that I asked if a unit was good was like 3 years ago when I came back to the game and was still a relative noob and had to learn from Faf on how different things worked. But the moment he taught me so that I could understand, I, figured my shit out. It's
I think
okay
the
to ask
last
questions
unit,
that you don't know, but don't
I
be
think the
inane with
last
them.
unit that I had to explain in depth to Recoome, and this is only because it was a new unit that just got released, was Azurai. I think that was the last time that I had to really like
Hmm.
knuckle down and tell him what the unit did. And that
That's a
he
long
had
time
been
ago.
playing for a grand total of a week.
Hmm.
So he was extremely new at that point.
Yeah.
So
It's
he
okay
got
to
out
have
of that habit
questions.
relatively quickly.
It's okay to have
He would
questions, just don't ask stupid ones.
he would appraise the units after that and then come to me like, did I appraise this correctly? And most of the time he'd be right. Sometimes there'd be an error and we would have a respectful conversation about it. And sometimes like there's something he would see that I would overlook, and sometimes there's something that
Hmm.
he would overlook that I would see, and then it would end up being broken, and then it would end up having Ravia's ass, and
Yeah,
then
and then it was all downhill from there. Um, Also, another thing is once you get better and start learning the answers to these questions, start trying to apply them first before asking again. It's always helpful to kind of just, how should I phrase this? Attempt something with your newfound knowledge. So, like, okay, now I know that, Azurai is a shit lead, but, this unit is good, so maybe I'll try other content with this unit. Oh, it didn't work, I'll come back with more questions. God, I adore you if you do something like that. It cuts so much work off of help chat. And I think that just about sums it up, because I will just, yeah. I'll lose my mind if we keep doing this.
do you want to check
Yeah,
global chat real
that
quick?
guy's hacking, yeah. I already downloaded the image. Oh, wow, guys. We caught him on stream, a hacker.
Wow.
He says Photoshop fail. Yeah, no. I feel like you can wrap us up so that I can go ahead and pretty definitively ban this guy. Anything else?
Yeah. No, I think that's set.
All right, I'm going to impromptu end the recording so we can take care of this, but I think we covered everything anyway. So for the people who are watching on YouTube, thank you so much for tuning in. Shameless Patreon plug in the description. This shit is expensive, and